Following the promulgation of the new Act, the Veterans of the Liberation Struggle Act, Chapter 17.12, that recognized the other categories that were previously not recognized. And these categories are the war collaborators and the non-combatant cadres. That new act, which is the Veterans of the Liberation Struggle, is now encompassing these new categories. But then, for these new categories to be recognized, there is a process that must take place. First, there should be a registration program. As you recall, that registration program was launched by His Excellency the President of the Republic of Zimbabwe, Comrade E.D. Mnangagwa, on the 12th of June 2021. The registration exercise started on the 17th of June and ran for 30 days to the 17th of July. By the end of that period, we had managed to register 205,753 prospective applicants across the country in all districts. The registration exercise also took into account those that are in the diaspora. We requested, or working together with the Minister of Foreign Affairs, we requested that our embassies act as registration centers for our citizens in the diaspora. Now, we are moving into the new phase, into the next phase, which is the vetting exercise. It is yet to kick off, but we are already doing data capture so that those that registered are going to be vetted in areas where they registered, they operated. And for non-combatant cadres, they will be grouped according to camps in which they stayed during the war. These people are going to be vetted in these areas where they operated from. In terms of the act I already explained, which is the Veterans of the Liberation Struggle, Chapter 17.12, a war collaborator is any person who assisted consistently and persistently the effort of the war of the liberation fighters. That stretches from those that assisted with the provision of food, those that assisted with the medical facilities, those that catered for the injured fighters, and those that provided information about the movement and operations of the NM. It's quite, the definition is quite wide, covering a number of activities that were executed by our communities during the war. Now, let me move on to explain the definition as given in the Act of a non-combatant cadre. A non-combatant cadre is defined as a person that crossed Zimbabwe, then Rhodesia's borders, into neighboring countries for the purpose of fighting the war, and remained in those areas until at the time that he or she may have returned to Zimbabwe after the end of the war. And you will appreciate that these countries are Mozambique, Botswana, Zambia. Those are the immediate countries that are specified in the Act. These non-combatant cadres, when they left the country to go outside, they didn't run away from the war. They actually went to participate in the liberation of the country. But for reasons beyond their own control, they could not be trained, and they remained untrained until the conclusion of the war, and they returned home. These are what are called non-combatant cadres. And now, as I indicated earlier on, the next phase is therefore to vet them so that their credentials can be ascertained. Everyone who is going to be vetted is going to be vetted from within the area of operation by those that he or she may have assisted during the war. We are hopeful that the system is going to work much better, and we think only those that are eligible will succeed. After vetting, the name of the person is going to be published in the government gazette, so that the name can be scrutinized by anyone to confirm the credentials of the individual. So it will run in the government gazette for 30 days, after which, if no objections on a specific name are received, then the name is then published in the register, and the person is now recognized as a veteran of the liberation struggle. But there are others that may fail the vetting exercise in its initial stages. There is a mechanism that has been put in place so that they can make their appeals. First, their appeals in the area of vetting through sectorial appeals committee that is going to be set in place. We are already setting those appeals in place. And the decision of that appeals committee overturns the decision of the initial stage. If that stage of the sectorial appeals committee feels that you still don't qualify, you go to the next level, which is the provincial appeals committee. So if you still fail at that stage, you still have an opportunity to appeal to the appeals committee that is located in the Veterans of the Liberation Struggle Board. Assuming that you still fail there, you have an opportunity to appeal to the Minister of Defense and War Veterans Affairs, whose decision in terms of the law is final. However, if you read also in terms of the High Court Act, you can still appeal the minister's decision to the High Court. So that's the process that will be done. Those names of the successful applicants will then be entered in the register. And those that will find their names in the register will then be eligible to receive different statutory benefits as stated in the Act.
The role of the Interministerial Investigations Team is to ensure that we carry out the vetting process for the veterans of the liberation struggle. As Interministerial Investigations, we have remnants of both ex-political and war veterans. We have not been vetted for various reasons. Somebody might have been in detention during the period of vetting. Somebody might have been ill. Somebody might have been out of the country. And as they come forward, we then carry out the vetting process for these categories. We also have some imposters who manage to find themselves in the register of the war veterans and who do not deserve to be in there. So we carry out investigations and we flush them out. We have prosecuted quite a number of imposters.
Thank you.